Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinila. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello, friends. Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in to the Optimized Advisor Podcast today. I'm very excited to have you because this is just a wonderful topic that I could probably go on for hours about, but we've got Joni Wu in studio with Lux Travel, a FROSCH Company. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I'm excited to be here, and it's a great time to talk about travel, and who doesn't like that?
Everybody loves travel. Let's not kid ourselves. If we could all be spending our days on the beaches or, in the Swiss Alps, whatever the dreams may come of people. As you may know, most of our audience is going to be advisors in some capacity. So financial advisors, wealth managers, very, very, I would say, dominant personalities for the most part, hard chargers, living a very fast-paced life in their professional career and kind of managing and juggling a lot of plates. I imagine that's the case with a lot of your customers.
Yes, absolutely.
Many, many questions I have for you. Certainly as we talk about COVID and how we're going to get on the other side of that and what travel looks like now and into the future. We use this analogy quite a bit in retirement planning. Most individuals, you may or may not know this, spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning for their retirement.
That's interesting.
It is a very interesting thing because your retirement lasts for 30, 40 years. How long does a vacation last?
Yeah, wow.
A week at a time?
Hopefully longer, but okay.
In your case, absolutely, right? So, we've got a lot of questions to have, a lot of content to get into, but let me do you a proper introduction, okay? Give you some background, and then you can elaborate a little bit about your company and specifically what your role is within your expertise, okay? So, Joni, who I've known, when did we meet you? Through our good buddy Sorab?
Yeah, a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been three or 4 years ago.
We did your big birthday party
in
Costa Rica.
That was fantastic, by the way.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much for organizing that. That was good. Very, very special birthday and vacation that was. All thanks to you. Oh. So Joni Wu specializes in delivering personalized recommendations and custom itineraries. Joni's foray is into travel. Consulting grew organically out of an insatiable wanderlust, ever-present appetite for local food and drink, and a thirst for culture and adventure. With an undergrad from UC Irvine, an MBA from USC, and corporate management roles in technology and commercial real estate at the Walt Disney Company, the dichotomy of Joni's structured background and inherent search for travel experiences has given her a unique perspective on how to deliver the most value for her savvy clients. With our communication, I will say, many times we're emailing and talking via voicemail most of the time, and you are a world traveler.
Try to be.
You are on the go, girl. So here we are, 2021, a year after, pretty much to the date of COVID-19 and changed the travel world forever.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Lux Travel for the FROSCH Company and what it is, what they do, and more importantly, I got to be asking this question because I'm sure our listeners will wonder, why in today's world do I need a travel agent like you?
Okay. That's a lot to go
that is.
with. Okay.
We can, one bite at a time.
I will. Okay. So I'll start with Lux. Lux is based in Irvine, California. We have an office right across the street from John Wayne Airport. It is amazing. If anybody wants to come see it, I'd love to show it off because our owner bought a plane, like a defunct 737 Boeing, cut it up and put it in our office. So
Wow.
I love to share the pictures. It's beautiful. We have like this gorgeous conference room with a turbine, like a working turbine we can turn on as our conference table. And he's an aviations guy, so, it's very like airline look and feel. I am the hotel girl, so I love hotels. That's kind of my specialty, and destinations and recommendations. So I'll get to that later because that's more of the travel advisor part. Lux is mostly corporate, so the big, like the bread and butter of the company is corporate, but leisure has been growing, and that's kind of where I came in. Our department is wonderful, and I'm actually an independent. So a lot of people just think of travel advisors like, I don't know, AAA, sitting behind a desk, hasn't really been a lot of places. But for the luxury travel advisor, for the luxury client, they want someone they can trust, who thinks like them, who has been to places and can really recommend based on that connection. So I think Lux has been really good in that, focusing on the luxury, the details, the service. We were recently purchased by FROSCH about a year and a half ago, so right before COVID was perfect timing. And FROSCH is like $2.3 billion travel company, one of the largest in the U.S. And I know these names are...
They're headquartered in the U.S. as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Houston, I think, and
Okay.
New York City are the main offices. But they wanted to expand their leisure portfolio and purchase kind of these other luxury travel agencies because they are very luxury based. So it's great to have, as an independent, to have these kind of resources behind me. I have a team. I have a wonderful staff. It's family owned. They did take some private equity funding recently, which is great because in this, what we've gone through, we've kind of had to make some changes and do some things that maybe we would have normally, but this is going to be awesome for future growth, which is, so when you have a company like this behind you, then you just have that confidence too.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the gist of the company basis. Why use a travel advisor? I mean, if people are, private equity firms are putting money towards this, they're seeing the value in this. And I think it's growing that clients are starting to see that as well, travelers, especially because we kind of grew up in this era of online travel agencies. We just do everything online.
Right.
I mean, and it's easy. You go to Expedia, you can book whatever, but I think the influx of information has been just overwhelming. That, how can you read all these TripAdvisor reviews and what do you know, how can you say that these people, it's so subjective, so how can you say that these people are thinking the way that you do? And not every product is right for everyone. And that's kind of where our roles come in, and to know what our clients are looking for, to know the products, and to match those together. And that's like kind of the basis of things. When I started this 7-8 years ago, I mean, I left my corporate job, as you can see if I have a background in, what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And I was like, I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and
Your love for wanderlust and travel around the world pulled you.
Exactly. And I saw such an opportunity here. I mean, really the story was that I had my big first sale. It was like $100,000 Regent 7 Seas cruise, family of 10. And, they're smart, they're very educated. They know how to do this themselves. Why are they using me? And I didn't have to charge them any more than they would have paid anyway. It was a win-win scenario. And I started to see that and understand it. And I just thought, okay, I got to do this. I got to at least try. And now, oh my gosh, so we'll talk about the COVID stuff, but I think especially now is the time to be contacting a travel advisor.
Yeah, I think if we can kind of unpack two things.
Yeah,
One is,
I talk fast.
No, that's fantastic. So, but the one segment is obviously corporate travel, group travel. That clearly is, okay, I can't do this on my own. I need a travel advisor to help organize this event, multi-rooms, multi-flights, all these things. But the other element of this that I'm very interested in talking a little bit more about in detail is luxury travel. I mean, I got to believe that that's evolved quickly in pretty a short amount of time and continuing to evolve. If I'm a high-income earner and I've got my family of 10, 8, 5, what have you, or 2 or 3 families even, that becomes logistically a big challenge to organize a truly memorable experience. Forget just throwing the word vacation. It's, I want to engage with someone like you that can help, that knows me, that can help me craft an experience that our family will never forget.
Sure. And I think that I would say, I don't want to say old school, but back in the day, this was a big thing. People used travel advisors for everything.
Everything.
And so I think the older generations grew up with that, the understanding of why, the importance. And before, you couldn't even book an airline ticket without using a travel agent.
Right.
And so, but I mean, it has definitely evolved in so many ways. To bring it back to kind of where our generations are, because we just did everything online.
Right.
Now it's kind of like taking it back and saying, oh, they were onto something, because they did organize these multi-generational trips, like our grandparents, our parents, and here we are like trying to manage it all ourselves because that's how we knew to do it. And more and more so, people are discovering, just like any other, service an advisor service, wow, this is very valuable. And that's kind of what I like to do, is to try and create, awareness and education around it, because once people understand it and they're like, oh my gosh, why have I not found you before? People call me like pre-Joni days, like, oh my gosh, we needed you back then. Like this is why I think is really important, just to get the word out.
Even little things like, so let's just go step by step. If I'm going to book, if I'm going to I pick a location, Hawaii.
Okay.
Well, I begin by, this is one person, right? This is the process most people go through. I go to, like you said, Expedia or whatever. I start looking up flight itineraries. How long does that take the layman person to go through and sort through?
Sure.
All these different airlines. Even just that, what is it that your expertise can help provide that person? Let's take it one step at a time, the travel process. So flights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I start by asking them, what island do they want to go to? Most people don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean? Maui,
Right.
Big island? Like, most people don't know the difference for most of it.
Yeah, they're just making this decision kind of in a vacuum or based on Yelp reviews or maybe what they've been to before, but not having professional advice from somebody like you.
Yeah. So I start off by saying, and if they're like, well, we want to go to Maui because that's what we know. And I'm like, okay, have you thought about these things? And I go through and say, well, based on what it is you're looking for, are you a honeymoon? Are you family? Are you, what do you want? What kind of experiences do you want? What do you want to see? What do you like to do? And then I can say, I think this is going to be the best island for you. And I think you have to be a little bit strong personality to be in this role, because you a lot of times have to tell people what it is they want, because they really don't know.
Yeah, you're suggestive. You're listening to what they're saying. You're asking experienced questions that then provides you specific suggestions that hopefully they take your advice.
Usually they do, because they're like, okay, I think she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, in our experience, what you mentioned, the Costa Rica trip, just in your advice of, okay, I've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 flight options that work. This is what you should do. It was so much more efficient than us doing it piecemeal a la carte.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge time saver.
Yeah.
That I'm just saying, the busy person, the person who's used to our generation using technology to get us across that finish line to accomplish that goal, we spend an hour when we didn't need to spend really any time doing that.
Right.
And then, okay, so we booked our airfare. You start to help with, okay, transportation. What kind of transportation do you want? Let's get into the hotels, your expertise.
Yeah. Well, I think it all...
That's a huge world.
Goes in hand. It's not just, I think there isn't a process of, oh, I got my flights, now what? I think it's a whole conversation, you got to look at, well, if this hotel is in a different part of Costa Rica, then we're going to fly you into a different airport. And people don't even know there are 2 international airports in Costa Rica. They think San Jose is the only one. And then you drive 4 hours to Papagayo, where you guys were, but there's a much closer airport, and it serves direct flights from LA. So why not? And people are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
These are just kind of really basic things that can save time. Yes, absolutely.
This is clearly continued validation of the fact that if I really want to do a vacation right, I need a travel advisor, because it's the sum of these little parts that really make or break,
Yeah,
a very frustrating or rewarding and memorable experience.
sure.
It is a big deal. Okay, so hotels, though, resorts.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there's quite a bit of change going on within that. You've certainly got a number of maybe countries, states, restrictions, openness. How does one kind of navigate those waters today?
Well, I think even for me as a professional and in it every single day, I still need to do a lot of research. I'm reading constantly about, what's happening, updates, and because it's changing so frequently.
Daily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't even keep track. So when I have a request come in, then I do the legwork and I know kind of generally what's happening, but like even I have this client that asked me for Palm Springs and what's open. And it's like, I don't know, things in California are constantly changing. I have to call the property specifically and find out for, these maybe 3 that I've narrowed down for them. And so it could be anything, like so small as that. And, if you are busy, what are you're going to call each hotel after you've narrowed it down yourself? No.
Not going to happen.
Right. And it's my job. And even though I've for example, the Ritz in Palm Springs, I just booked it recently, but I still don't even know what has changed within the last week. So there's just so much out there right now. It is, I think, very difficult to navigate even as an advisor. I can imagine a consumer going through and doing that and making the calls and really understanding what these things mean. What do the regulations mean? I mean, that's my job, to be in the know and understand. And if I don't know, I find out.
Yeah, even just things like, going to a restaurant, consuming food within a given community, that becomes a real challenge today, and especially compounded if I've got kids.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Some are takeout only. Some we're closed. You've got to go somewhere else. Some are not doing room service. And then there's so there's so much, and it's very property and location specific.
What about like kids clubs and things like that?
All of it.
All of it,
Yeah, I mean, it's all of it.
And there's no uniformity
No.
to it today.
Not at all. Even within properties, no.
Is there any guidance as we sit here today, like forecasts of what could be a year from now, or, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months down the road? Like, when do we get back to what we all hold on to as quote unquote normal?
I don't.
Who knows?
I don't think
it's a guess. I know, but
I don't think we'll ever get there, to be honest. I mean, things are going to be permanently changed, and I think for the better. Not now, but eventually. I did make predictions before, and I think I've just stopped because it is so unpredictable.
It is so unpredictable.
But I mean, the outlook is good, so we're
So
excited.
let's talk about what some of the silver linings have been through this. There have been many.
Yes.
If I really want to look at some of these, there's been wonderful efficiencies created, through things, not that they were created through the pandemic, but obviously TSA PreCheck Clear has been a wonderful thing that's been instituted to the travel world over the last few years. But even what hotels are doing and restaurants are doing, and your activities or experiences are doing, and how they've made things more efficient. Does anything particular come to mind of, this has changed for the better? This is a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think definitely like cleanliness is completely different landscape now. I mean, there are so many protocols and regulations in place for everything, from hotels to airplanes to every single part of it. I mean, has been regulated. And I think that's great because then, you always kind of have that fear of like, just getting the flu when you're flying, But now even as a personal, like I'm wiping down my own space and doing things I probably should have been doing before,
Right.
So just the kind of the basic of like being like sanitary and just being aware of that has been great. I think one of the silver linings has been that right now is such an amazing time to travel, and even during pandemic, actually, because there's hardly anybody around. I can't say that fully now because resorts are starting to fill up. Things are getting busy again. But for a while there, I mean, I'd go somewhere and it'd be like 30% occupancy. So it was easy to maintain social distancing. It was amazing to just basically like feel like you have this resort to yourself.
Oh, and
sometimes.
flying. We may get in trouble for this, but flying was incredible. I would tell people this was the best flight because there's open seats everywhere. It was wonderful. And they're following all the safety protocols and guidelines. You're wearing a mask. Everything is super clean. But the last flight I took, which was last week, it's like, 70% full now. And you're a little sad about that from what but you know what? That's a really, really good sign that we're on the right track and things are opening up. People are getting their vaccinations completed and hopefully they can break through that barrier of I no longer need to be, confined to my house or to my office or what have you. Get back out on the road, live life.
Yes. I mean, I'm like a little bit afraid of what's going to happen because there's so much pent up demand for the people who were really afraid, and they, for valid reasons, health, family, certain things that just kept them from traveling, children, school, so many things. So now it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be nuts. I don't even know how I'm going to handle it, I think. So it isn't a really exciting time. I think airlines are now starting to add back routes. We just had an announcement that Long Beach is running to Maui direct. Cabo and Puerto Vallarta just opened direct from John Wayne on Southwest. So these things are coming back. And I mean, these flights are so expensive. People are like, oh, it's really cheap to travel right now. No, it's actually the opposite. It's been quite expensive. If you can get a good deal right now, take it. Because people are so excited. They're booking. And I mean, I just booked flights to Cabo for $1,000 from John Wayne on Southwest. I mean, that's what and when they first released the route, which was March 1st, they were $300.
Why? What's driving that?
People want to travel. Yes. I mean, it's all based on algorithms and numbers. And, when they do the revenue management stuff, and pricing, it's people, the demand is there. And because when you look at hotels and certain things, we're like, why are things so expensive? Isn't it COVID? I'm like, because if a hotel is limited at 50%, 60% occupancy, then they have to make up their revenues. And if they're filling that up and people are willing to pay $1,000 a night, why not? And it makes business sense. And it's, capitalism and it's working. And so it's great for the industry. It's great for, of course, we've suffered as an industry as a whole. So there's a lot of makeup to do. It's not like anybody's trying to price gouge or anything. It's not about that. It's not about taking advantage of a situation. It is just pure business and demand.
Okay, so this is the Optimized Advisor podcast. We want to talk a little bit about optimization.
Okay.
So you mentioned algorithms, flights, booking. Can you share with the audience any glimmers of genius about tricks like booking airfares, or what strategies can I use so that I'm kind of knowing that I'm doing the best thing? Or is it just simply call you and you work the magic?
I was just going to say that. It is. It's calling a travel advisor because the algorithms are done, digitally. So they're not, it's not something that we can predict. And there's no book on Tuesdays, Yes, there's traits of if you fly on a Tuesday or Wednesday, typically, yes, it's cheaper just because there's less people flying on those days on average. But again, it's all based situationally, seasonally, everything. But no, there's no if you check on this day or if you're, looking, of course there's seasonalities, but these are things that an advisor can tell you. Yeah. Or if you want to spend hours doing the research online, sure, you might be able to find some of those things out, but there's no general rule of, you should do this on this day or you should be looking, here. It's there's different off seasons for different destinations based on weather, school systems all over the world. They're on different school schedules for seasonalities and stuff. So all of these stuff, if you're not in it day in and day out, it's a lot to research and to look for. So calling somebody is probably going to save you the most time.
Yeah, that's a perfect example because a lot of times it's like, okay, husband and wife, mom and dad, they kind of have a talk. It's okay, yeah, we want to go to Hawaii or what have you. And we just start down that path, right? As opposed to, perfect example, flights to X are now $1,000 a ticket. We end up just booking it, as opposed to talking to someone like you saying, hey, Joni, we're really looking to plan a trip to Hawaii, and you knowing us or asking a few questions, maybe you suggest an alternative. Do you have an example of when you had a client, and it was like, they were all excited about X location. You know what? After talking to them, I suggested they go to this place, and they took you up on that.
Gosh, that happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. So like the last example, or right now, what are you seeing where individuals are just kind of by default choosing, and you're like, people should be looking at this right now because of these reasons?
I think, Hawaii has been one of those because especially us based in, Orange County, it's so easy to get to. We've got direct flights, and a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to plan this. And I'm like, I would recommend you wait. Not now. Now is a good time, but this was maybe within the last few months because they kept changing rules. And this was going on for so many destinations. Like, do you want to plan this trip? And you're super excited about it, and then all of a sudden the destination shuts down again because they did that. They kind of did this like varying, oh, we're open, oh, never mind, we're closed, oh, now we're going to require you to quarantine for 14 days. And all of these things are constantly changing. And so for me, it's like, well, if you want to take that risk, go ahead, sure, we'll do that, but understand there's a risk behind it.
Yeah.
So if you want to, really get away, then let's look at Mexico. They haven't closed at all. They've been open to us. It's been super safe. And I can go through the different destinations and what it is that you're looking for. If you want that adventure, if you want, beach, of course, Mexico's got all of that. And people don't think of things like, well, I've already been to Cabo. I'm like, well, have you been to Santiago Mountains? There's a waterfall that you can jump from 30 feet, and it's an oasis in the desert. It's such a cool thing. Have you been snorkeling with sharks? And they're pelagics that have never seen humans before. And they're like, what? You can do that? I thought you just go to Cabo for like spring break or, hang out at the beach. And I'm like, no, there's so many activities that you can do outdoorsy and make it a real like week-long trip that you would do for Hawaii. And then once they hear
Danielle,
that,
we got to book that.
yeah, it's actually awesome. I did it twice, and I just swam with a blue shark like a couple of weeks ago, and it was magic.
Wow. Are you in a cage, or are you just...
No,
you're... Bikini and a snorkel.
Yeah, well, wetsuit because it's cold now. But in summer, bikini and wetsuit.
Wow.
And it's the sharks. And there's
what
handlers.
Was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was magical because they're like, they bait them with chum and like a full-on tuna head on a rope. So you see them like, chomping at this tuna. and it's like a big shark.
Whoa.
And it's not a friendly reef shark. These are predators.
Right. They are real sharks.
Yes. And the shark handlers they have no accidents. I know it sounds like crazy, and it's obviously not for everybody.
Yeah.
But for the adventure seekers like me, you go out there and you're just like, this is a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity to do this. And to do it so close to home. Cabo's 2 hours and 15 minutes, you know? And there's just so many of these things that let's book that for you guys.
Let's book that for sure. Okay, so let's unpack. Let's continue down this fun path.
Okay.
I've been living under a rock my whole life. I've never traveled anywhere. What are some of the places domestically? I've just stepped foot here in California, and I'm coming to you saying, Joni, I want to explore the United States. What are some of the places that I need to consider to go?
And again, any time that I get a request, it is great, but I have to narrow it down. I just have to. Do you want city? Do you want food? Do you want culture? Are you a nature person? What kind of activities do you enjoy? Somebody might be a golfer. Then I would send them to Pebble Beach, something cool and interesting for them, or, so it really depends on their preferences, what that is. So I know it's like, I want to answer those questions in so many ways, but it really comes down to the individual. And that's why I do this kind of customization thing, because there is no like one place fits all. Because if I send someone to Arches, maybe they're not into hiking or nature or something. They want to be in New York City, and those are two completely opposite things that in my opinion, you should see both.
Right.
But maybe you don't like that. And if you have this one opportunity, I want to deliver, what it is for you.
So let's do two dramatic alternatives. One, city person. I want to go into a city life, nightlife, food, culture, that kind of a thing. In my mind, I think, okay, got to do New York City. Mm-hmm. This is all normal standard. We're not talking about pandemic rules or anything like that.
Sure.
But what other cities maybe that I would want to explore if I've not been anywhere? Let's think about this for a minute. So you got New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Seattle.
Chicago for food, culture.
Yes.
Portland, if you like craft beer, they have awesome craft beer tours and just different breweries that you can visit. And still get the nature part of it too, which is awesome, because I love to be able to kind of balance different things and suggest things, maybe not, maybe get out for a day and you might discover something you like.
Right.
And not, I like to kind of push the boundaries just a little, just to see if, maybe sometimes you just don't know because you've never done it.
Yeah. Portland would be a good example, I think, just because you do have an intimate downtown. You have the downtown experience, but you don't have to go very far before you can get outside of the city and explore some real outdoorsy things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, where else?
What about this? So have you heard of the company, I think it was Travasa, where they had these two very kind of unique experience, outdoorsy couples kind of retreat places. One I think was in Austin, and then one was in some rural city of Hawaii. And it was like zip lining and, yoga and all this stuff, these types of resorts. As I get older with myself and my wife, it's like, I want to find those places.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Travaso is in Hana.
Hana, right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it was sold, and now it's going to be something different.
Completely different. What happened there?
It needed a lot of work. I think it was a little rustic. They charged kind of high prices. It was considered an all-inclusive, but they don't have alcohol because the U.S. doesn't allow that. And they did have experiences. So it was, it just wasn't popular, It wasn't a thing. And I think it was too broad.
Yeah.
I would say there are so many of those cool experiences, like I would recommend for a family over that place. So a dude ranch,
Ooh, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So that's
a fantastic idea.
Yeah, there's some so there's, even in California, we've got some. Alisal is one. You go fishing, you ride horses. They do like bonfires with like songs, and it's we have that even locally. But
so those would be like group resort dude ranch. I don't know if I'm saying it the right place, but right way, but it's I'm amongst other families, and it's like I'm at a resort, but it's a working dude ranch.
Yes. Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a working. Some of them are.
It's a vacationing dude ranch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a facade of a dude ranch. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there's activities that are outdoor. Like you have archery for the kid. Adults.
Yeah. What about outside of California?
Yeah. So that was the closest one, but the main famous ones, I would say, or known ones, are going to be in Montana.
Right.
So one of the biggest ones is Paws Up. And I'm just going to use this one as the example, but there's a bunch. There's actually adults only ones too. So you go and you have these, and they're luxury cabins. You can either stay in the main lodge and it's like a hotel style, or you can get your own cabin, or you can get your own like residence, like 4 or 5 bedroom luxury home, especially, for multi-generational families. Those are awesome. But it's still, I hate to call it a resort because you always think of like beach or, but.
Right. It's not the right adjective, or descriptor.
It's a property. It really is. It's a massive, most of these are, hundreds of acres, and they've got all this land with rivers.
Hiking, fishing,
yes.
Exposure to animals, probably, UTVs.
so many
Oh,
things,
man.
horseback riding. And
Campfires.
yeah, and so they have organized activities, they have daily activities, they have lessons, if you want to learn to fly fish, so it's just
So generally speaking, like what's the nightly? Those are, I would imagine, like an all-inclusive type of thing.
Yeah.
What's the nightly rate on average for something like that?
For just say like a couple.
Yeah.
Let's say
Or a family of
couple.
4,
Because they do it by person, so let's just say a couple.
Okay.
The nicer ones, so they're 5-star, like top of the line,
Yep. That's what we want. That's what we
experiences
want.
Are about $1,500 to $2,000 a night.
For a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's not cheap, but
No, but that seems that's a very fair price to me. I would think for that kind of an experience.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to a la carte all of those things, it'd probably be more. If I was to pay to rent a UTV, if I was to pay to go get a hike or a tour or all these things, I don't know the area.
Right.
It probably gets very expensive.
Right. And some of them are not private since you do have some other people that join. And then some of the experiences with maybe the motorized things would be an additional charge. So it's not, I want to say.
Oh, all inclusive. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
But it's a 5-star experience.
It is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
You should. I
Yeah.
think the kids would love it.
Okay. All right. What about things like this I'm seeing more of, like under canvas and auto camp?
Yeah.
What do you know about these types of things? Share that.
The glamping.
Yes.
There's so
Visually
many.
speaking, they look incredible.
And they're comfortable. And people are like, oh, camping. I don't want to go camping.
Right.
I don't want to spend like $500 a night to live in a tent.
Right.
No, I mean, if you think.
But you now take it away.
Yes, if you think.
Why would someone who want to do that?
Well, I like to kind of compare it to the experiences you get in Africa. You are spending $2,000 a night to do that and live in a tent, essentially. But it's a very luxury tent, and it's gorgeous. You're in the middle of the African bush, and all your activities are included. You've got 2 game drives a day. You're going in the morning, at night, all your meals. You've got these expert trackers that have been, raised as when they were little to track these animals, to find them, to give you that experience. So when that makes sense, like why not somewhere locally doing something similar like that? So yes, it is a tent, but it's super so this one I like to use an example, and it's actually really reasonably priced because it's in Colombia. Colombia is pretty inexpensive. You can stay at the Four Seasons in Bogota for like $250, and
Wow.
comparably that would be, I don't know, $1,000 somewhere else.
Right.
So this experience is like something like $350, I want to say, a night, and which is amazing, but for somewhere else maybe $1,500.
Right.
And you are above the clouds, like in this mountain, and there's condors that live underneath this mountain, and you see them from your room. It's an open air tent, but it's a structure, and it's beautiful. The bedding is, amazing. And you're in the middle of nowhere, and you see these, these animals that were nearly extinct flying out from underneath where they nest from your bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a river there, and you could go stargazing.
And it's like luxury glamping.
Yes.
Wow.
And
So what about food and dining at these places?
so because most of them are remote, it's all included. So they will have everything. I mean,
They cook for you.
yes, everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're not doing anything.
That's fantastic. And it's included.
Yes.
So they're barbecuing or whatever they're doing locally, culturally. I mean, coffee, tea, the whole thing. What about alcohol?
Some. It just depends.
Depends,
But yes,
yeah, okay.
almost all, yes.
And
Especially
then
in
what
other
about
countries.
activities that they offer?
So yeah, all of it. Well, it all is property specific. So some
Right.
will include, certain things, and then other things will be additional.
But not forget price for a minute. Just
Oh.
based on the fact that they've kind of organized, you're in this remote location. Here's kind of all these things you can do, whether they cost or not. It's like we've
yeah.
kind of already kind of baked in an itinerary, if you will, or a lot of things that you can do. So it's not like, in other words, I don't go to this place and think, okay, honey, now, gosh, well, what are we going to do? No, they kind of already have a whole list of things to do to
Yeah.
plug into.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And you can just choose based on your interests and everything. So it's really great. I mean, you are in the middle of nowhere, So
Yeah,
they
but some
kind-
people seek that out. I would think more now than ever. People are just hungry to, get openness.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like connecting with nature. And I do, especially with a lot of my, busy clients and working professionals, we have so many stressors at home. There's, constantly people are needing things, and most of us are based in big cities, and you want to get out of that concrete jungle and into the real jungle, and there's something that changes within, and I've started to see that myself, because I used to be the type that was like, I need to go to this place, and I'm going to go to this city, and then I have to do this because that's the thing I was supposed to do, at this place, and it's almost you have to like a vacation from your vacation, it's exhausting.
I mean, the world is such a vast, vast place, right? And you're identifying places I would have never thought to go to that, quickly matriculate their way kind of to the higher end of the list,
And I think these are the things that people seek now, especially clients who've been a lot of places. I've done Italy, I've done, Greece and all these places that, okay, now what? This is my passion, is to kind of find these places.
Gems.
And I've been to a lot of places, so I'm seeking these things out. So, and I get really excited about them. Clearly, this is my passion.
Yeah, that's great. So if you were, let's do this. If I was really looking, I'm looking to splurge. We've been married 25 years. It's an anniversary trip, or it's, a birthday. That one of those milestone birthdays. And I was saying to you, Joni, I'm looking to really treat my wife to a truly a getaway experience that we'll never forget. What are some options? Or ask me some questions that help you kind of hone in on this. Role play with me,
Yeah. Okay, so are you looking for beach? Are you looking for adventure, activity?
We are looking for adventure. We definitely are active. There's no grass growing under our feet. However, we do really appreciate some time to unwind. Yes, we love beaches, warmer weather, but mostly being in the outdoors.
Okay. Have you been to Africa?
I have not been to Africa.
Oh, done.
Okay, that's the place. Okay.
I would say New Zealand, but I already know you've been there
that's
many
true.
times. And that's actually one of my favorite places to recommend for couples who like to get away. And
This is an adamant recommendation. And for everybody who travels internationally, I tell them New Zealand must be on their bucket list.
Oh, yes.
Hands down, This is not negotiable. Maybe New Zealand loves that or that doesn't like that. I don't know. But it is a wonderful country to explore. Okay, so Africa. Mm-hmm. Why would Melissa and I want to go to Africa?
I think there's
And where would we go? What would we do?
a special connection that people have when they go. I mean, it's with the land, it's with the people. It's just one of those places that people say, well, I think I should just do this to like see some animals. Mm-hmm. And then they come back changed. I mean, people are crying when they leave and they can't wait to get back. And there's so many places you can go. So South Africa is a really good starting point because you have the beach in Cape Town. You've got city, great food, prices.
Safety?
Yes. I mean, if you're staying in the right places.
Okay.
There are concerns when you're in maybe Johannesburg or if you're not in the touristy areas. You don't want to venture too far, but yes, safe.
Okay, so from here we fly LAX to direct to Cape Town?
No, layovers. Yeah, we have to. Okay, we don't have any direct flights to Africa
where would
at
we
all.
Like?
Paris is one of the places.
Okay. Yep.
Dubai and Abu Dhabi is another. And Qatar and Doha. So either somewhere in the Middle East or in Europe are going to be the two places.
Flight time?
About 20-some hours total once you add it all in with your layover. It is a trek to get there.
Okay, how many days am I committing to? Like, what do I really adequately need to commit to?
I would say at least 10 because you've got 2 flying and then 8 there.
2 weeks would be wonderful.
Better, yeah. And then you can do kind of break up the flight either on the way there or the way back. And like maybe spend a few days in Dubai, spend a few days in Paris. Yeah. So it's nice to do that. And the flights are really comfortable and, it just makes it nice to do.
Yeah.
But then you're out there and you've got the city and then you get to go into the African safaris. And many of them are very, very luxury. They, wait on you hand and foot and you just feel like you are in this crazy place of nature that you just can't fathom.
So the safari part of it's how many days usually?
As long, I recommend 5.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's kind of like a week on the beach.
Yeah.
And then a week doing the safari with obviously some interchange in between travel here and there.
Yeah, and people want to see like Victoria Falls. It's beautiful. You could do that as part of this trip and do Cape Town and do the safari. So there are multiple places you can go. For people who are like one of the coolest experiences that I haven't done, but I've heard from people who've done it and clients, is doing the gorillas in Uganda and Rwanda. They are just these creatures that you just connect with, and it's like, these are I think the things that we seek out now, like different perspective, what we've done to them, as humans, again, bringing them to, point of extinction nearly. And they're just creatures that like you just resonate with, you find a sense of something within.
Right.
So there's just all these different experiences besides just, lions, tigers, whatever, cheetahs.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think Africa
really cool.
is.
So what's the budget for something like this to do it right?
To do it right, I would say minimum, and not including flights, minimum land $10,000. Okay. To do it good.
So it's $15,000. 15 to 20,000 with airfare.
After airfare, depending on how, because most of my clients like to fly business.
Right.
So we're looking at 5-6 per person in business.
Okay.
And then about 1,000 if you were flying economy, or 2,000 in premium economy.
So what's the current game, like business owner, right? I've got my Amex card, business travel, all this thing. So what's the game right now? What does it look like if I book, I pay for coach and then use miles to upgrade? Is that? I mean, these may be dumb questions, but
no,
does that exist?
Yes.
Still? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when you
what's kind of the regular kind of rule of thumb there?
Well, it depends.
The flight and everything.
Yeah, and I think as an agency, we book through the hotel or the airlines directly. So it is the same. You would just go and log in to your account if you have miles either with the airline or with your. We can't do it with credit card points. That's a whole different other thing. Yeah, we can't book through those. There are specific companies that do that. You pay them something like $300 to $500 a ticket, and they will maximize your points.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but that's like a
whole
specialty. Yeah, all on its own. I don't know if you've ever tried to use like miles and points in certain things, but they do that. So with credit card points, it's a little bit easier. You can kind of do that on your own, or I can always, when my clients say that, I'll tell them, okay, here are the flights that I recommend. And if you can just go on your credit card and book it directly, then do it.
Do it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're giving them some guidance, because it really, the utilization of those is kind of an art unto its own.
Yeah.
And again, most people don't really know how to maximize that.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's not an easy task. Okay.
The optimization, right?
That's what we're trying to teach here. How do I optimize travel when we all have the same amount of time in a day, and time is so scarce, especially if I have a family and I'm running a business. Mm-hmm. And I do not want to spend more time booking travel than I do planning my retirement. There's where your advice becomes critically important. Okay, so in our world, back to the advisors now, moving on to corporate travel. Mm-hmm. So in our world, in many, many of our partnerships, the insurance carriers that help support the products, they manufacture the products for us, they put on these big conferences that we attend as advisors. Mm-hmm. And obviously we saw none of that in 2020. We're starting to see some emails come across our desk of, we're doing this conference. Well, you being corporate travel, if I'm running a business looking to engage in corporate travel, what's kind of the landscape? And if I'm an advisor looking to hopefully actually make it to one of these conferences, kind of what's the lay of the land there?
Well, corporate contracts are done on a contractual basis. So if it's an incentive, if it's an event, we would contract that specific thing. Mm-hmm. So if it's a one-time deal, then there's your standard corporate travel, like, you've got salespeople that are traveling, or your advisors that are going and seeing clients.
Right.
So that is like a completely different ballgame.
Completely different. I'm talking about conferences.
Okay.
Destination conferences that are happening now. What's the lay of the land with that? I mean,
Oh, is like, am I seeing it
big
happening?
group. Yeah. Or is it happening? Where are you seeing it happen?
I'm not
okay.
really. I'm not seeing much. I think companies are still trying to do a lot of virtual things. They're trying to be safe. I haven't heard of any big things happening. Some smaller conferences. I have a corporate incentive group going to Cabo next month, investment bank. So they have, I think, 17 people.
Okay,
going.
so a group, but an intimate group.
Yes, that's
Got it.
what I'm seeing more resurgence of, and none in 2020. Since March of 2020.
And probably not much domestic, right? Are they more, if they're happening, are they going to be happening more internationally?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. I wonder how that'll, just adjust here in the next 8 months, 12 months.
I see some. So there's a couple that are happening in Vegas, Florida, the places that have
Are
kind
open,
of been
yeah.
open.
Yeah.
So there are some smaller things happening. I mean, it's great. I know a lot of people who have pushed things off, kept pushing them off.
Yeah.
And so I'm very hopeful that they'll still happen, but we just don't really know at this point. But they're in the books.
Yeah. So interesting how this will evolve. I mean, it would be so great to get back to, gosh, a 50-person conference or, a concert.
Oh, tell me about it.
We can get to a musical festival, although Florida will probably be the first one that'll actually start doing that.
Life is Beautiful is on, I think it's in September for Vegas. It's a big music festival. It's on.
Wait, what?
It's called...
You caught my attention.
Yeah, it's called Life is Beautiful. They've been running it, I don't know how many years.
Where
many
is
years.
this?
In Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine Vegas is very hungry to get people there.
They've been, yeah.
What is it like now? And the Strip and all that, dude? I mean...
I went when they first opened, what was it, like June, maybe? May? And it was so weird because the Strip was completely empty. And then there were people not masking, walking around just, no cares in the world. And then same in the casinos with gambling, and others were good. So it was really strange to see it that way.
Yeah.
I haven't been since, but from the feedback that I've gotten, things are opening again. Like I was able to, that was one of my first dining experiences after not going out to dinner for months, and it was magical.
Right.
So
such a fresh, just like, wow, I'm living again.
Yeah, exactly. I feel alive.
Totally.
So
The little things. Right. That's a silver lining, in all of this too. It's like really appreciating just the joys that life normally should provide us, and really taking to heart that something as little as a dining experience is a treat. And to appreciate that, hopefully we can hang on to that.
Yeah.
And create travel experiences that, like I said early on, last a lifetime. So any additional insights as we wrap up here that you can share with anybody? Besides, so I'll say this, besides the fact that you've done a heck of a job explaining and showcasing why someone needs a travel advisor like you, is it makes travel so much more luxurious, eventful, system, streamlined, efficient, and just an all-around pleasurable experience.
I think one of the biggest parts of this that people don't really get until they've been through it is you have an advocate. We care about our clients, especially in the luxury travel business. I am not transactional. I build relationships. I get to know them. And then it makes the process of working together so much easier too. So you're not, constantly having to re-explain yourself or go through any of that. So especially with this COVID situation and anything moving forward, it's like I had some clients in the beginning who had to do all these cancellations on their own, or not clients, friends and people I knew. And I hear of these stories that, they book through, I don't know, Expedia or Costco was the worst, which was you would be on hold for 6 hours, not speak to anybody. And you want to just pull your hair out. It's already such you've already had to cancel your trip. You're already living this nightmare. And then you have to deal with all of these things.
Yeah.
And so I think that was when people had me like, oh my gosh, she did everything. She got our refund. We didn't have to do anything but just tell her, hey, we're not going to be able to make this trip.
Yeah.
And they were like, I can't imagine, because, they tell me the stories, like some of their friends didn't use me, and
Right.
they're still trying to get their refund. They're still trying to,
Yeah, like
figure
cruise
this.
lines. I would imagine what a hassle.
Yeah, it's a disaster. And what to do with your credit that you got, and so I think through that, we are your advocates. We're here to not only help you plan, but for any issues that arise, we're here to help you resolve them, so that when you're in destination, or if something, God forbid, something crazy happens, you have somebody on your side fighting for you. And, I think that is so much more invaluable than, some of the, planning. Oh, great, this is a good hotel. That's what I love. But these are the things that I think, are really, you can't put a price tag on.
Well, especially as you get to know me, let's just say, and my family as an individual, you could be very succinct. And this is what I think you should do next. You're really building a relationship with someone like you that plans the rest of our life's vacations.
And it really is like that, because some of my clients
That's pretty cool.
shoot me a text, and we just do everything via text. We don't even talk on the phone. There's not even any email. Everything's just there. It's like, okay, we're going to go here. Okay, what about this? Yeah, looks good. Done.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's really great. And
So how do they reach out to you? How do they deploy your advice?
Oh, well, they can email me. They can.
Okay, that is.
It's joni.wu, so joni.wu at FROSCH.com, FROSCH.com. Also, Instagram has been really big because people get inspired by ideas from there, from my Instagram page.
Yeah, follow Joni, everybody.
It's,
Joni Wu.
yeah, it's,
I made you Juni.
Oh.
Joni Wu. Juni.
that's actually what my dad calls me.
Seriously?
Yeah, Junie.
That's great.
So it's Joni, JONIGWU on Instagram. If you just want some inspiration, in travel, I like to post a lot of fun pictures, but you can also direct message me there. And then I do have a cell phone number that I don't really, how many people are getting here?
Well, you never know.
All right, 949.
That's up to you. That's up to you.
232, we could cut this later. 949-232-4492. And you can send me a text there.
You are a true joy.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. I really enjoyed this. That was a treat.
Thanks so much for having me. I love talking about travel. This is
Yeah, this is
why
your jam.
I've done what I've done.
That's right. Hopefully some people were enlightened and can optimize how they travel and in their future endeavors, wherever that brings them in the world. So thank you again.
Thank you. I hope to take them there.
Till next time.